Cosmopolis. Okay, so I saw Cosmopolis quite a few weeks back, but I haven't reviewed it yet because I've been quite busy with writing and stuff like that. But Cosmopolis is directed by David Cronenberg, who's actually one of my favourite directors. Now, David Cronenberg started with grindhouse style movies with such things as The Brood and stuff like Rabid as well. Then he moved on to more body horror films, which were horror films which had quite a lot of context and depth to them, such as Videodrome and The Fly. And now he's moved on to more talkative features such as A History of Violence, Eastern Promises, and this year he came out with A Dangerous Method, which is one of his more disappointing works, but even Cronenberg at his worst, he's better than most directors. And now Cosmopolis is his latest film, and it's based on a book by the same name by a writer called Don DeLillo, or something along those lines, I can't pronounce it. And it's about a billionaire who, over 24 hours, travels across Manhattan to get a haircut. Now, I don't want to say too much, as various things obviously happen on his journey, but it's a film that the less you know about it, the more you'll take away from it. And I'm going to start off and say Robert Pattinson is absolutely fantastic in the role he plays. I mean, he's actually quite a good actor. I mean, Remember Me, which was a film which didn't have a great narrative, but it had great characters, and Robert Pattinson was one of the reasons for that. And he's great as this character that's kind of sealed off from the world. He's not in touch with people on a human scale. He's cut off, and the fact that he spends about most of the film in a limousine looking out on the world mirrors that theory. And he spends a lot of the time talking about like data, programs and computer software, and that kind of mirrors the fact that he's not in touch with reality, in touch with human. He's more of a robotics symbiote of a character. And the film has a lot of themes that are relevant today. I mean, one of the main themes that it has is the recession, and it's a film that is based a lot around money, and the fact that he's a billionaire, and the fact that everyone outside the limousine is affected by the recession. There's sort of this contrast that goes on between the two classes. So it's kind of a really important film when you think about it, because it's got a lot to say about our economic climate and the state that we're in at the moment. And though we may be coming out of the recession, we're not fully out of it, we're not in the safe zone, and that film addresses that. And Cronenberg, he kind of had this fascination with flesh. He kind of did these body horror films, but were done for an emotional advantage, not just for the sake of being gory. And now he's kind of turned to a more internal metaphysical level and looks at stuff like our sex drives, and like in A Dangerous Method, that was a film about our sex drives, and he's kind of moved on from his visual body horror type films into a more talkative structure. And because of that, this film's not for everyone, because it's quite talkative and it's quite a slow paced film, and about 80% of it takes place just in this one limousine. And the characters as well, they don't speak how you and I would speak, they kind of have this poetic sensibility about them, and the film is based around a poem involving rats. So when people talk, they kind of speak in a poetic structure, which I personally loved, but for a lot of people it will be off-putting and very cold and distant from the film. But I think the final 20 minutes of the film will determine what it's about for you. It features one scene that goes on for 20 minutes between Robert Pattinson and Paul Giamatti, and it is one of the it's a perfect scene, and it sums up the entire themes of the film. And if you didn't grasp the themes before that, which for some people I can imagine they wouldn't, that final 20 minutes will make it clear what the film is about and get you a grasp, making repeat viewings a necessity. So overall, I think Cosmopolis is a really important film to say about today. It's got a lot to say about money, about people, and about internal emotions, but the fact that it's a bit cold and distant makes it not as engaging as you would want it to be at times. So for that, I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5. I think it's a really fantastically well executed film, and it's one of Cronenberg's best talkative features. And as usual, if you like what you see here, just click right here and you can see more.
Destroy the past, make the future.